Hello and welcome to the first ever video podcast of the NFFL podcast. Of course, if you're listening, it's just audio. But if you're watching on YouTube, welcome. Not going to do a whole lot of the normal regular stuff. I've got a nice lengthy chat with our two competitors for the Phyllis on deck. But let's take a brief look back at the two semifinal matchups that we had this week. And the first up, we're going to go with the Toilet Bowl matchup of the week. Last man left, our number 1 seed took on our number 4 seed, Jim Kelly Hates Cancer. I picked Jim Kelly, and I was right. Our highs, A.J. Brown returning to a very nice day. Dak Prescott had a nice day himself. T. Higgins and Alex Singleton, different sides of the ball, but very nice results on the day. Unfortunately, there were some lows for Lance Manlove, which led to their downfall, as the king is dead. Yes. The king is dead. I'm so sorry. But not. Bye, Jason. Starting two bench players. Yes, you had your reasons, but still, you started two bench players. And Kelsey and Connor, that's going to hurt. And the entire defense was just awful. The matchup MVP for this was A.J. Brown. Welcome back. And as with last week, there's a platitude for the losing coach. This one is for Lance Manlove. Gotta read it. Losing is part of the game. If you never lose, you are never truly tested and never forced to grow. Our other semifinal matchup is number 2 Flutie Flakes, who I picked to win, and you proved me wrong there. Taking on number 6, Jay's First Time Nightmare, formerly Bear Bunda's Nightmare. Let's start with some lows. Tyreek Hill, Jack squad against Pittsburgh. And Jay's First Time Nightmare, anyone on their defense not named Minka or Dion might as well have been named Tyreek, because they did Jack squad as well. On the plus side of this matchup, though, Josh Allen went ham again. Rushing, throwing. He had a nice day at the office. Justin Jackson filling in for the COVID-stricken Austin Eckler had a very, very productive day at the office. And Devondre Campbell, one of the bright spots for a down week for Flutie Flakes. Nice defensive performance. Josh Allen is the 6th time this season MVP of this matchup. And for Flutie Flakes, a little platitude for you, a little comfort. You have no choices about how you lose. But you do have a choice about how you come back and prepare to win again. Now, this may not be entirely true because you did choose to mortgage your future. And you did not win this year. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, we don't really have many players left to talk about as poopers, but let's talk about some poopers this week. Van Jefferson Jr., Nick Folk, James Conner and Travis Kelce, even though they were injury designations, or at least COVID, because they started, or were started, I'm going to include them because it's my podcast, and I'm going to do it. And because otherwise there's really not many. Tyreek Hill, Charles Harris, Devin White, Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, Justin Herbert, Saquon Barkley. You've been on this list way too many times this year. And Jordan Poyer. I'm sorry, dude. You just... You guys... It's our last poop of the year. Oh, it's so bad. So bad. All right, so at this point, we're going to turn it over to our interview and let you hear from our Nellis Bowl competitors. So, that's the way to start it.
I just had Taco Bell, so I'll probably have lots more of that where that came from.
You know,
Anyway, well, welcome to Championship Week, gentlemen. If I had my soundboard hooked up, I would give you the applause. I think for the podcast actual, you'll have it behind you, but
you're going to kick him out again, Brett.
No. I just lost my connection.
The podcast might be better that way.
No. Actually, while we're waiting for that, Chuck, why don't you tell us what you feel about parody?
Are we recording now or what?
Oh, yeah, we're recording.
Okay. I wasn't sure about that. In a nutshell, it is the socialism of sports. It is the participation trophy. Everyone gets a lollipop of sports. It is why the NFL sucks this year. It is why rooting for teams is almost impossible nowadays. I don't know how, and I know that I promised some sound clips. Unfortunately, when you asked for them the first time, I was on vacation, and then one thing led to another, and never got around to it. But I was talking to my son about, hey, I need you to go into the booth and record some little snippets. And he understood. Like, I talked to him about parody, and he's seen me drink out of the I Love Parody mug that was sent to me for my birthday from our Pierce winner, Matthias. And anyways, he was actually helping me write little clips, and some of the ones that he wrote were pretty funny. So unfortunately, we were just walking somewhere in Florida at the time, and we weren't actually writing them down. So we'll have to brainstorm and remember those, come up with them again, and get them in here in the studio so you can drop those clips next year.
All right. Yes, definitely. I want those.
You found the board.
I'm just playing the sounds directly from the computer. Anyway, gentlemen, welcome to Championship Week. It has been a long road, and we are finally at the culmination of an entire season of we'll call it madness, drunken, drug-addled craziness, shall we put it. And for Danny, this is your first time. Well, not your first time, but you're looking at your potential first time hoisting the Phyllis.
Oh, it was Jay's first time.
It was Jay's first time. And now Chuck Hates is going to potentially be hoisting the Phyllis for the first time. And Chuck, it's first time in a long time, potentially be putting your name on Phyllis for the 6th time, unprecedented.
It has been way too long.
So let's open up the floor. I've collected a few questions from the masses for Media Day, a lot less than normal.
I'm just here for the donuts.
Yeah, well,
Virtual
Danny's got
donuts.
those. Danny's got virtual donuts for you.
The virtual ones.
I was promised peanut donuts. Dang it!
Yeah. Danny's got them. So let's open it up for our newbie, our potential. We'll call you the Phyllis Virgin, young Daniel-san. Any thoughts on this weekend's magnitude?
Well, let's just say it's 20 years in the making. Whenever the league was born, I had dreamt of this day. And even though I got to taste its first fruits as a co-coach, finally being in the big game, the big dance, the big show, even though I don't deserve to be here at all, not at all. I don't even know how the hell I got here, but I'm here, and Chuck, you're gonna have to put up with me.
Hey, I talked to Danny earlier today, and I told him I don't think he's given himself enough credit. He was a borderline playoff team before he made some hefty trades, and those hefty trades put him in the position he's in. So, yeah, we've all had to deal with some injuries, and it's been a bumpy road to get here for many of us, and all of us had those bumps in the road along the way. But Danny was kind of a floundering team, and he put in the work. He pulled off the trades to get him in the position that he's in. So he deserves some credit.
So, any elder statesman, any reflections? Finally returning to the big dance after so many years absent.
Yeah, I realize how much fantasy football sucks if you don't win. It's a miserable game that we put ourselves through. Yeah, not being in the championship for a number of years yeah, hasn't made fantasy football as much fun as it was when I was winning a bit more regularly. So yeah, it's nice to be back for sure.
Well, before we get into some actual game prognostication, let's bring up a couple questions from the floor. Bizzle asks, what does Chuck hate the most about this season?
Ooh. What do I hate most? Obviously, we'll probably bring it up over and over again, but the COVID stuff throughout the whole year has definitely sucked. That's for sure. So that hasn't been fun for anyone. Looking forward to looking ahead anyways to the championship game. I hate the fact that the guy that I'm competing against has both Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. That's a real and it's not as though yes, the Bills have a very good chance of making the playoffs and everything like that, but you don't want to ever have to root against your own team in any fashion. So that's something that I definitely hate. It would make the championship game more enjoyable for me, win or lose, if I didn't have to, in a certain sense, root against my own favorite team. That definitely sucks. So those are some of the Chuck hates. Yeah, obviously, if I flip this question on its head, it has sucked for sure. Living through the dark ages. Let's call it the dark ages. But new knights in shining armor had to come through. If we had to take down the king along the way, so be it. But I think we can lift the veil on the dark ages. Goodbye, Zach. Normal reign of terror. The king is no longer on the throne, and either Danny or I will rightfully take our spot and lead this league back into the glory days that it should have been all along.
Amen. Now, Danny, a question from Scott. I got to open my phone again. How does it feel to be on the brink of your first Phyllis trophy?
It's like Christmas all over again. You don't know what you're going to get in the package, but you're anticipating it all the same. And, when I made it, like Chuck mentioned the trades, there was a point in the season where I was like, well, let's see what Connor can cook up and we can get Ben on the hook for. And it was a lot of back and forth. And there were several times throughout the year, actually, even talking with Chuck specifically about putting Metcalf on the block there. And there was I looked at our text message thread earlier, and the last message I had from the Chuck was something to the effect of, it was an Adam Thielen and Ramondre Stevenson offer for Metcalf several weeks ago. And just how interesting would it be had I taken that? Neither of those players are currently playing. So, and he would have Metcalf on his roster. but it's interesting. Like in fantasy football, is a crapshoot. We all know that, and you just gotta play. That's what it comes down to. Now, if you can get good at predicting like generalities, then you might have a better chance of winning more often than not. But I mean, there are teams in other leagues that I'm in that had fantastic rosters that are already eliminated from the playoffs simply because the Chiefs laid an egg one week, or and like the Josh Allen Diggs thing, that is as much a threat as it is a strength, because if they decide to run the ball, then they're both gone. It's like, and that's what happened, I think, with the Chiefs with Connor last week. Was the Chiefs just ran the ball on the Steelers, and that took away from Tyreek Hill, which ultimately kind of stifled his progress. But no, man, it feels good to be there. I hope it's not the last time, but I know that next year's draft is going to be a huge hurdle, because I basically mortgaged everything on 2021 here. So,
All right. So starting with Chuck, how do you win this weekend?
Oh, it starts by something I mentioned before. Somehow the Bills choosing to do something that you don't know how to do, and that's run the football. And by that I mean using running backs to run the football, because if they win in any other fashion, that puts me obviously in a tough spot. And in the same regard, my Herbert and Allen connection is important as well. Herbert has been one of those hot or cold guys. He's either just on fire or just mediocre. And so those both our quarterback wide receiver duos are key. And then I'm still obviously, I was holding that hope that Waller would finally get back in this game. There were thoughts of maybe him practicing this week, and then of course he hits the COVID list earlier today. So once again, rolling with his backup, because it's not as though there's awesome tight ends roaming free agency. But then also my running back situation is interesting as well, because Barkley has basically just sucked. He's questionable. His backup, who I have on my roster, has been scoring more points than he has. I've got these kind of, because of COVID and because of injuries and stuff, I've got these interesting things to think through in terms of, all of a sudden Ronald Jones is a liable starting running back, which is unexpected, but I'm probably going to end up rolling with him. And I'm even wondering, so Chubb, unless something weird happens, Chubb is a lock for me. But even I'm wondering about Barkley. Do I even put some, like, now that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is most likely out with the collarbone injury? I have to find out if that's officially going to keep him out this week. But if he's out, maybe I end up starting Darrell Williams instead of Barkley, which sounds absurd, but the Chiefs offense running back one versus what Barkley's been doing with that offense, and then of course if I do that, it'll be the 1 week that Barkley scores 40 points and I'll be kicking myself. But those are the types of things I'm paying attention to.
After the way this season's gone, it would not be insane to bench Barkley.
Yeah.
Daniel, same question. How do you win this weekend?
If Chuck sits his whole team and he loses his internet, that's pretty much how it's going to go. I got the matchups here. So, I mean, I got my stack versus his stack, the Allen Diggs versus the Herbert Allen. That's going to probably be the bulk of the points for both of us in terms of a 1-2 punch. Once you get out of there, though, it depends on who scores touchdowns. Like, Brown had a huge game last week. Now, usually my rule of thumb is if you had a huge game last week, you probably won't have one this week. So I bet against that. You know, I always tell Connor, my hope for every wide receiver is 6 for 60. That's it. You give me 6 for 60, I'm happy with you. And then it's boom or bust, head. You know, like you got a couple games in particular to watch. Like, I think Chubb's going to run all over the Steelers. I'm not happy about that matchup right now. For Chuck, that Foster Moreau. I have Waller in a different league, so I've been dealing with the same thing. So I've been frustrated with the Foster Moreau situation. But here's where I think it's actually going to come down to. If my defense will not score more than his, I will not win. Chuck's defense is and Roquan Smith, always jealous that Chuck has him. But Singleton put up damn near 30 points last week or something crazy like that. Aaron Donald is probably going to get a sack in Baltimore against that rookie. Whatever his name is. And then I wouldn't be surprised if Walker picks off Ben. You know what I mean? Who gets the splash plays? Whoever gets the most splash plays is going to win this game.
What's real quick, Danny? What's funny about in particular those three defensive players that you mentioned? All three of those defensive players that you mentioned were my only 3 waiver claims of the year. So they were very recent waiver claims. Singleton, I've only had on my roster for like 2 or 3 weeks. Walker 1 week, and Donald I picked up. I think he got dropped for his bye week, and I said forget. I'll use my waiver claim on Aaron Donald. I don't care if obviously he's the kind of guy that can score 0 or score 30, but I'll take that because that position is so viable. But anyways, I think it's interesting. All 3 guys that you mentioned were all my 3 waiver claims for the year.
Got the magic touch.
Yeah, and let it be known there has been 0 voodoo cast in this matchup.
There's nothing but love in this.
There's no voodoo cast.
All love, no voodoo.
I will say too, I think this is interesting. Danny and I talked about this earlier today. It would be actually pretty fun, of course, because you never like blowouts. It just doesn't make it fun. Yeah, obviously, if you're in the position where you're winning, that's great, but it certainly makes it more fun if Monday night football comes into play and all that kind of stuff. And so there is if we keep this game close, there's a very good chance that the Monday night game is going to come into play. And not only that, there's also we each have defenders that might come into play on that Monday night game as well. But it really could come down to Chubb versus Harris, the 2 running backs whom we made trades for, mid-season. So the 2 running backs that we kind of went all in on, it could come down face to face, those 2 heading up against each other on Monday night, which of course, if it comes down to Monday night, that makes the championship game for us exciting, and that'll be fun to watch.
It would be nice to, as a spectator, it'd be nice to see a competitive championship game. It feels like the last few have been kind of over with before even Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. As long, I will put this caveat, and I don't want it to happen to either of us, as long as there's no kind of stupid swing on stat corrections.
Oh.
You hear that, Scott?
Oof.
Speaking of Scott, he's got another question.
Well, wasn't that Matthias that lost his first?
I think so. Yeah, I think
title,
that's
because I think that's the only time it's happened in the championship game was to Matthias. I think. Yeah. I could be wrong.
I believe so. So Scott asked,
all my stuff's in my head and memory, not like Scott's spreadsheet.
Oh yeah, I intended to have
Terrifying.
all those kinds of stats in front of me, but yeah, it just didn't happen. Well, Chuck Scott wants to know, are you just as hungry, if not more, for another Phyllis?
I think Scott wants to come back. That's how it sounds.
Scott must be hungry. Yeah. Scott, to answer your question, I think I'm more hungry because I've had the taste, and it's been a long drought. So I might be hungrier than I was earlier in my Nellis career.
And Danny from Bizzle, as founding commissioner who has never won the Phyllis, what are you doing this week to prepare for the game?
Fasting and praying and anointing with oil and all of these things.
Pilates.
And Pilates. Hot yoga.
Goat yoga?
Hot goat yoga.
Hot goat yoga.
Oh yeah, hot goat yoga, baby.
Oh man.
And Danny and I both said we're both trying not to sneeze because we don't want any other our players to come down with COVID. So no sneezing the rest of the week.
I don't want to be responsible for Hunter Renfro going on the list. Although I'm super scared of that happening now that because like
now that you put it out there.
I put the voodoo on myself, damn it.
Just this morning, Chuck, we were talking, what was that, just this morning we were talking about you, or was that yesterday? That's yesterday. You were talking about potentially having to roll with Carson Wentz, and not 15 minutes after we got off the phone, I sent you a screenshot of a notification I had just gotten that Carson went on COVID list.
Yeah, none of us wants to be in the position where last minute we're scrambling to put in replacement players. That would just not. It hasn't been fun all season, and it certainly would not make for a fun championship game.
Oh,
now,
no.
as far as I understand it, somebody can't go on that list after like 9 a.m. the day of the game.
I don't know the answer to that, Danny.
I think if somebody has to test and they like, do you remember when Ben had it and they tested him they tested him the Sunday morning of the game?
Well, remember too, they just in the past 2 weeks they've changed the protocols like 7 times. So who knows what they are right now, and who knows what they'll be by Sunday.
Just keep all your fingers and toes crossed. All extremities crossed. All extremities.
My kids might listen to this podcast. I'm not saying anything.
All right. Okay, so as we wrap things up, any last words of encouragement or smack talk for your opponent, Chuck? We know how much you love trash talk.
Nothing but love. I just hope for a good game between Danny and I. Everyone knows that I don't love smack talk, especially in fantasy football. A fake game. I don't really see the point of smack talking fake things. But I will. Danny and I talked about this as well. We do want to give a shout out to Jizza. Just before we got on this podcast, Joe passed on some news about Jizza, and so we just want him to know. Danny, I said, we will dedicate this championship game to his honor. So prayers go out to Jizza. We hope he's doing well. We love you, buddy. Not that you're listening, but we hope you're doing well and hope you have a fast recovery.
Yeah.
And Danny, good luck to you. Looking forward to a good weekend. For
anyone who is on Facebook, Karen did provide an update about an hour ago as of this recording. So,
yeah, in terms of closing thoughts and arguments, like I said, I mean, I kind of wish I didn't have any Monday night people. That's just an extra day to be worried about this. and like, I'm preaching on Sunday, so I have to have my act together before, so I don't get caught in a parking lot without any ability to change a last minute change here. But what's very interesting, I'll tell you this up front.
That was a nice slide dig, by the way. Nobody else would catch that, but it was a nice slide dig.
I have made 2 game day changes in these playoffs that have actually worked. Last week it was the running back for the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
I had him on the
Jackson.
bench, and I sat there and I stared at him, and I was like, "You're going to do something today, aren't you?" And I talked to him a little bit, and I put him in, and he saved the day. Really, I mean, I that game, Connor would have took it, but yeah, it's whoever gets the splash plays, touchdowns rule this. You can't fight a touchdown, man. I mean, that's guaranteed 6 points. And okay. So, all right, Chuck, this would have been hilarious if I could have pulled this off. All right, so on Monday, we were supposed to drive out to Harrisburg to drop stuff off at the state capitol to expedite the berry business paperwork.
Sure.
And I was going to just drive over to where you were.
Oh, that'd have been awesome.
And kind of like troll you, either at your house or at work, like stand outside your window or something.
You could just stand in between both locations and wave, and you
get you either
could
way.
see me either way. Yeah.
Oh, I was laughing so hard because that almost happened.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Then we decided,
especially this week of all things.
That's what I'm saying. Because we wanted to get it in before the new year, but it's not going to really save us much time, so we just decided to mail it.
Gotcha.
But
so it'll get there in 2023.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So much love to Jizza, and game on.
All right. 2 last quick questions from me, and then we'll sign off. One, if you win the Phyllis, where are you displaying it?
Well, new house with the fireplace. So the fireplace has a mantle, which it has never sat on before. So if it fits with that new base, I'm not positive it'll fit, to be honest. So if it fits, it'll definitely spend some time on the mantle of the fireplace. It will probably also, you guys remember, it used to sit on a pedestal right in the office of CPYU when you went in the door. It'll probably spend some time there as well. So yeah, it'll share some time here and there, get the rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go search out Phyllis herself and plant one on her lips. That's what I'm gonna do.
Make sure you
live stream
video
it.
That. Yeah, live stream.
I'm going to go to Coppell, PA. I don't know if you know this, but I've been to Phyllis's house.
I remember you saying that years ago, right? Back when we were in school.
I had to capture a mouse in her garage. And I hung out with Phyllis for like an hour or two. But I want to get a photo with her. She's still there.
Nice. All right, and one last question. Any hints as to what the Pierce punishment could be if you are victorious?
Let's go, Brandon.
Go ahead, Dan. Oh, ouch. I'm not touching that. Yeah, I'm gonna have no part in that. To be honest, I haven't. Honestly, I don't know what the punishment would be. I haven't given too much thought. Maybe I don't want to get ahead of myself because Danny's got a good shot this week. So, yeah, if I had an idea, I would certainly share it. But yeah, I don't have anything yet.
I think for Matthias's sake, you need to win.
Well, after whatever your punishment might be, it sounds like maybe that's the case. Part of me, and of course we know it can't actually work this way, and I don't want to turn my punishment into the Greg Jones style punishment of Kumbaya or whatever it might be. But I regardless of what happens in the championship game, the literally last minute Allen trade, and I don't know if that was Sweatman that pulled that off or Matthias that accepted it. I went to bed the night of the trade deadline I had a bunch of things out, different offers, possibilities. And I went to bed thinking none of those last minute ones came through. And I woke up in the morning and saw that they had went ahead and pulled the trigger on the Allen trade. And, there were some games leading up to the playoffs that I would have lost without, especially because AJ Brown then shortly after that was on the IR for a while, and my receiver Thielen's ankle was an issue. So without Allen, there are weeks that I would have lost. I think, including my week that I played you, Brett. If I hadn't got Allen that in that trade, I would have ended up losing to you, and that would have changed up seeding and all kinds of stuff. It was not a guarantee that I was going to make the playoffs. Even I was in a good position, but so anyways, point being, that trade, Matthias really actually helped me out a lot in some big time ways. Allen's become a key contributor down the stretch. So I don't think that means I get to take it easy on him, but there, I at least want to give him a little bit of thanks.
Yeah. Well, there's your thanks. And if you win, you can rest easy knowing you've thanked him publicly. All right, gents. Thank you for your time. Good luck to you both this weekend, and regardless of whoever wins, one of you will be hoisting the 20th Phyllis Trophy. So good luck to you both, and congratulations to whoever is the victor.
Hear, hear.
Huzzah.
All right, so I got a little information for you, just to give you a lay of the land for our competitors. The last time that Chuck was in the championship was 2012. And according to Scott's record keeping, our league statistician, Danny has never reached the championship game. Chuck owns Danny in head-to-head matchups. Regular season, it's a 16-3 advantage. Postseason, they've met one time, and Chuck won that one. And that was back in our inaugural 2002 season. It was the semifinal round, and back then, Chuck was the number 5 seed with a record of 6-8 going into the playoffs. Danny was the number 8 seed with a record of 4-10, and the Pierce winner of the inaugural season, and got bounced by Chuck in the semifinal round. So this is it's very poetic that our 20th anniversary features these two teams vying for the Phyllis. Now, just for a little fun statistical matchup for you. Statistics-wise, a 6 seed has only won the Pierce 6% of the time, or the Phyllis 6% of the time. And a 4 seed has only won the Phyllis 11% of the time. Or sorry, 6 seed 5% of the time. And a 4 seed only 11% of the time. So Chuck's got a slight edge there numerically, but not by much. Because both of these guys have already beaten the odds by even getting there. So, with my, I've made picks all year. I'm going to make another one here. Yahoo is picking Danny to win. Yahoo is picking Chuck Hates, or whatever the name is by now. I'm going to agree with Yahoo. I think Danny finally gets the monkey off his back. And I think he takes it based on that quarterback wide receiver stack. And I think I also think that Danny is right about his defense. If his defense falters, I think my pick is going to be wrong. If at least half his defense doesn't really do well, I think I'm going to be wrong. But looking at the matchup, I like his team slightly better. So there you go. I'm picking Danny to win it all. There you go. Last week, I went 1-1 in my picks, which brings me on the season to 55-35. Yeah. You can buy your NFFL swag on Redbubble at bit.ly/Nellis NFFL. You can see my lovely Nellis hat. This is not a virtual background. This is a tapestry behind me. And yeah, Nellis City. Yeah, I'm all decked out. It's a video podcast. And remember, you can vote in the NFFL honors. Watch for that link if you haven't seen it already. There's no Thursday night football or Saturday night football this week for our competitors for the Nellis Bowl. So, everything's Sunday and Monday. But they sound like I already know it. So, I'll probably do a wrap-up of everything. I'm hoping to sit down with Scott virtually and look at the season statistically. And it's been an interesting season. So I hope you enjoyed this experiment with video or just enjoyed listening. See you guys around.